Buck has got a book out. Honestly, these are both very timely books where he tries to get into, tell us the name.
Manufacturing Delusion, how the left uses brainwashing, indoctrination, and propaganda against you. I just wanted to be Manufacturing Delusion, but subtitles apparently are helpful.
And my book, and that's a very august title. My book is called Balls, and it's about how Trump young men and sports fans saved America, okay? But I do think that these are two different sides of the same coin, much like this assassin is if you compare his life to Charlie Kirk's. And let me just kind of run through a little bit here. I feel immense sadness for so many young men in America because for much of history, whatever you thought of politics, there was a consistent expectation for men. You got married, you busted your ass in a job, you had a job to try to take care of your family and provide a better life for them going
You might
forward.
have to go to war. If you look generationally, you might have to go fight in a war.
Might have to get killed. We had an experience and expectation of manhood that was universally accepted across the political spectrum. Whatever you think in 1945 a Democrat and a Republican represented, by and large, there was an understanding of what manhood was and what it represented. I think so many young men in the wake of the Me Too and in the toxic universe of this woke culture that has tried to say manhood itself is toxic, the absence and continued decline of religion, which helped to, frankly, allow the foundational elements of the family, the nuclear family, manhood, I think there is a desperate yearning for meaning. And I think Charlie Kirk found it. Whatever you think about him, I think he found a foundational core tenet of life that led him in a productive way to get married, to have 2 kids, to try to communicate to these lost young men a pathway to what he thought would be a better life for them.
Well, one thing that... One thing I was going to say, Clay, that is so important when you look at the competing narratives here about Charlie. There's our narrative, which is rooted in reality, of a man who did it the right way, was an inspiration, was kind, reliable, a father, all the things that we have said. So I want to, you know how we feel about Charlie. But what you'll hear from a lot of people on the left, who of course don't know Charlie, and this is always another thing. I know this is a little bit of a digression. I know a lot of people in media on the right, and I know a lot of people on media on the left, and the people on the right are almost always better people. I'm just telling you the truth, okay? I mean, as people. I'm not talking about their talent. I'm not talking about their paycheck or, their ratings or whatever, but,
as humans.
I was going to tell you, you listen to this radio show, you listen to some of our peers in radio and some of the people that, and I won't name them, you know who they are. If they were your neighbor, you'd be blessed. If you had to leave your kids with them, you'd know that, because you had an emergency, you'd know that they'd be fine. They'd probably get a home-cooked meal by the time you got home. Like, they're good people, okay? They're at their core good people. There are a lot of leftists who are truly lost and nasty human beings. I'll just put it that way. A lot of leftists. And this is true of the politicians as well. And you see this, and you're aware of this perception. There is a difference in the view of life. But, Clay, we know who Charlie was. They keep saying Charlie. The other side says that he was put, including, unfortunately, this horrific assassin, that Charlie was spewing hate speech. But what you see, actually, when you look at what Charlie said, and beyond that, look at how his followers act. They act with love, and within the law, and with consideration, and with kindness. And yet the people that think on the other side that they're doing some great favor to society by being violent, not just in this incident, but in many incidents like it, Antifa and all these others, they think that they are stopping hate speech, and they never stop to think that they're the hateful ones, that they are the ones who are saying, your words upset me, so I will attack you, I will punch you, I will even kill you. Who's the one spreading hate? What is the hate that Charlie spreads? And by the way, I would just add, a lot of this comes back to the trans stuff. That's really where, if you push somebody who says that the right is spewing hate speech, Clay, it's overwhelmingly just a version of saying you are erasing trans people. You are, these things go together all the time. But I think that if you're talking about hate, which is the side that is hateful? I think it couldn't be more clear.
100% agree with all of that. Charlie found his life purpose. He got married. He had kids. This 22-year-old was looking for his life's purpose, and he found his life's purpose to be killing Charlie Kirk. How does that happen? Your book is partly addressing it. I think it speaks to, again, the 27-year law enforcement veteran, dad, had to turn his son, that I would bet this dad poured his heart and soul into trying to raise as an uplifting, successful part of the community. I don't know very many parents who do anything else. Now, you might fail, and we might find out that there's something in the background of this kid that was not ideal that helped to put him on this awful path. But you have two young men. One finds his path and is trying to extend a hand to everyone else to say, hey, this path works for me. I think it could work for you too. And so many young men, in seeing Charlie's path, see a path for themselves as well. And then you have this 22-year-old who, by all intents and purposes, appears, Buck, to have been normal for much of his life. And he gets radicalized to such an extent somewhere that he's writing pro-fascist and or anti-fascist, anti-fascist and anti-Nazi comments on bullets that he uses to incredibly detailed plan the assassination of Charlie Kirk. How does that happen?
Again,
how do they go in different pathways?
And in the book, Clay, I get into brainwashing. I get into a process called menticide. I get into Pavlovian conditioning. I get into isolation and how that is used as a tool in this. I get into fear as a tool of ideological coercion, right? I mean, these are all different things. I mean, and again, the book's not even out till January, but it's just, this is what I've been looking at this because a lot of it was driven by COVID, but I get into the trans thing as well. And how people who aren't trans themselves will threaten to kill people or will kill people even because they have the wrong idea about trans, quote unquote, wrong idea. How does someone get to that point? How is someone so deluded? And this is a huge problem in our society because these ideas can grow and can take root to the point where they can actually cause a societal upheaval. I mean, you saw this in the Russian Revolution and the Soviets, and you saw this in North Korea, and I get into some of this, where actually the crazy ideas are the mandatory ideas. And the Democrat Party has had some instances where they have shown us this. COVID was it was probably the most powerful instance of it, but also the same thing with men don't have an advantage over women in sports and other ideas like this, right? You get into all of this. But it is a process of radicalization, and there is something that we have to look at here and understand much more deeply and in a much more cohesive way. How do we get people off this path? Yesterday, we stopped to recognize the loss of life our nation experienced 24 years ago on 9/11, and we've made a pledge along with everyone at the Tunnel to Towers Foundation to never forget. One way to do that is to continue to support the foundation as they pay off the mortgages of surviving family members who have lost loved ones, one of our first responders, or those who were defending our freedom. That's just what the foundation did for the Clark family. U.S. Air Force Sergeant Jesse Clark's military service came to an end after chemical exposure caused a large tumor to form in his brain. As a result, he's paralyzed on the left side of his body, legally blind, prone to memory loss, and in a wheelchair. But friends like you help Tunnel to Towers build this hero a new smart home to help him live a more independent life. Since Tunnel to Towers' founding, after the horrific events of 9/11, we must never forget what they have done for us and what they have sacrificed. America's heroes have given us so much. Please join us in donating $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at t2t.org. That's T, the number 2, T.org.